So today's webinar is choosing a pricing strategy for your short-term rental business. Welcome. This pricing strategy class is our master class hosted by AirGMS. My name is Camille Damji. I'm the Director of Sales here at AirGMS, and I'm proud to announce our guest speaker, Ian McHenry, CEO of Beyond Pricing. Please input your questions, if you have any, in the GoToWebinar panel, and we will be able to answer them towards the end of our session during our Q&A section. A sharing economy rocks. Let's take a look at some of the numbers. Airbnb is active in 191 countries and 65,000 cities. More than 200,000 listings just in the US alone. 160 million guests arrived all-time to Airbnb properties. And this is how it all got started. This infographic shows the company's growth. It was started by Joe and Brian in San Francisco. The company is valued at $10 billion in 2014, and by 2016, the company has a valuation of $31 million. This is a tremendous growth. Here's a few, the hotel business is obviously dying. Hotels lose approximately $450 million in direct revenues just to Airbnb alone. Here's a few of the top cities with the most listings. We have Paris, London, New York, Rio, and Los Angeles. I'm going to give 3 city examples. New York, Los Angeles, and Vancouver. Start off by talking about occupancy and pricing. The number of listings. These 3 graphs show steady growth for all 3 of these cities, which is pretty much a snapshot of the entire globe. Since about 2013, there's been a steady increase in listings and properties, and by 2017, it's just skyrocketing. Every city may have a seasonal demand. This graph shows that an average occupancy rate is higher than 60% in all cities. No matter where you live, Airbnb is growing. No matter if you have a single room or a multi-room setup, all listings are up, and that's what this graph shows. New York, Los Angeles, and Vancouver are all on the rise. Fees and discounts that hosts can implement. Here's a couple of stats. Cleaning fees. Cleaning fees are up to 60% of hosts charge a cleaning fee. Most hosts apply the cleaning fee to all the bookings. This is another way to increase your revenue. Security deposits. Don't be afraid to add a security deposit to your bookings. Things break, keys get lost, protect yourself. This is common practice. 59% of all hosts have a security deposit. Extra fees. Up to 44% of hosts charging for extra guests. It's good practice to charge for extra guests in larger homes. It's also a great way to add some extra revenue and make some extra money. Hosts often apply a discount on longer stays on Airbnb. It's not necessary to apply this unless obviously the guest asks. Weekly discounts are usually 17% off the booking rate, and on the monthly rate, 28% off the booking rate. Now we're going to get into the pricing strategies. There's 4 pricing strategies that I'm going to share with you today. The first is max fill rate. You do your best to be competitive in pricing and providing the same or more value as competitors. What are the pros for this? Well, it guarantees you a good fill rate and a stable income. However, there are some negative aspects. It requires a lot of attention and hard work. Your nightly rate is usually lower than the average. Here's a quick example. This example shows a snapshot of our Air GMS multi-calendar. On the top, you have the days of the week, and you can see here in green, we have all of our different reservations. You can see all the different check-in and check-outs. In red are what are called check-outs or cleaning tasks. An example of a long-term reservation where all bookings from Airbnb are coming directly. You can sell long-term 30-day bookings, inconsistent bookings with bigger gaps in reservations. However, there are more cleanings, as you can see. You do also have the possibility of making some extra money from your cleanings as well. On the left-hand side, you can see that we have a lower rate for the short-term days to try and fill in the gaps. This is great for businesses or property management companies. This is also good for Airbnb hosts that can fully concentrate on their business, and individual hosts, of course, as well. Maximum rate per night. Setting a visibly higher rate for increasing the profit from a signal booking. This is good for if you have a fill rate that is less than 50%, you're still making a good profit. You spend less time managing your business, less bookings, less problems. What I mean by problems is you may have less issues with dealing with your neighbors or building managers, or if you have a strata in some cases, you'll have less impact and less risk. The cons, you have a lower fill rate, however, and it doesn't work for every place. It has to be a very special or unique property. Here's an example. You can see that this is quite the unique property. It's priced very, very high. However, it doesn't work for everyone. You have to have a really special place, and obviously you're not going to be able to work for everyone. Companies that manage high-end or premium class properties, it works really well. All right, long-term or lazy hosting. Long-term rentals via Airbnb. This is good for low management efforts. There's less risk in highly regulated areas, such as some of the big cities in the United States and across the world. Generates less profit. Listing needs more exposure on other platforms other than Airbnb. It's a single rental agreement, and in some cases, some guests may even want to see the property before they commit to a long-term. And here's an example of, again, our Air GMS multi-calendar. This is showing a long-term rentals. You have a single check-in within 3 months. The negative impact, however, is you may have longer gaps between different reservations. The good thing is you have less cleanings, so there's less turnover. This is great for traditional property management companies or managers. This is also good for investment properties in highly regulated areas, and of course, out-of-country hosts. Balanced maximum revenue. This strategy is going to show all of the different techniques. The benefit of this is it's the best money marker. You're going to get the highest filled rate, and your properties are going to be more active. The problem with this, however, is it's more time consuming. There's probably not going to be much vacation time for yourself, and you probably have to have more people involved in your business or have a team to help you. Here's an example. This example again shows our calendar. Our properties are listed on the side. You can see what we do is we book our long-term rentals in advance and try and fill in the gaps with the short-term ones at a lower price. Now, obviously, if it's a Saturday night, you want to bump up the price, but if it's a Monday or Tuesday midweek, you may want to drop the price to try and fill in those gaps. This is great for larger businesses with a team. Hosts are usually fully occupied with their short-term rental business, so you probably won't have time to take a break for yourself. Pricing management. How do you manage prices on Airbnb? Well, there's three different strategies. There's obviously manual pricing. Prices are changed by yourself. This is usually based on your own expertise, and sometimes even just based on your own gut feeling. On one hand, you have all the control. You can change the price up or down at your own discretion. On the other hand, it's more time consuming. It is, on some cases, less accurate, and it's a higher risk of mistakes. Airbnb smart pricing. I'm sure you've all heard of this. Hosts usually set up a minimum or maximum price, and Airbnb will combine that information about supply and demand to deliver a recommended price tailored to each individual property. On one hand, everything is automated by Airbnb. Airbnb states that they take into account such things as special events, weekend versus a weekday, how far out the booking is, seasonality, hotel prices, your competitors' prices, and local occupancy rate. However, in most cases, pricing is not perfect. In many cases, hosts are not even satisfied. Airbnb may undervalue your listing and try and make a profit. Automatic pricing using the software. This is specialized and used to control Airbnb pricing. On one hand, everything is automated, and if you're using a pricing provider, you're usually going to be more accurate with a more comprehensive pricing algorithm. The other hand, however, this is something that you will pay for. And this leads us into our guest speaker, and we're going to be talking to Ian McHenry, the CEO of Beyond Pricing. Welcome, Ian. Thank you for joining us and taking the time to meet with us.
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for having me
Good.
on.
You're most welcome. Thank you for joining us. So we just got a few questions.
Sure.
All right. So the first question I want to ask you, what is the current situation with pricing in the short-term rental sector?
Yeah, so with pricing and short-term rentals, I think in the last 3 years, people have gotten a lot more sophisticated. They're at least varying their prices, whereas before, especially on Airbnb, people pretty much had maybe one or two prices. And so between Beyond Pricing's efforts around the world, as well as Airbnb's smart pricing, we see that people are more so than 4 years ago changing their prices based on demand, and that's great. The other major trend that we've seen is that in a lot of markets, there's been a ton of supply coming on the market. And when you have more supply, often that pushes prices down a bit. Other markets are still going great, but in some markets like Tokyo and Osaka, there's just been huge increases in supply, and so pricing has been depressed a little bit, and that's been aided to a bit by Airbnb's smart pricing, which I think most folks, and you noted, have kind of pushed prices down a bit, and they try to get folks to sell for a lot less than they potentially could. So this is generally what we're kind of seeing across the world.
Great. And do you expect any changes in the nearest future?
Yeah, I think you'll continue to see people get more sophisticated with their pricing. I came from the hotel and the airline side and did pricing for major airlines and for major hotels, and sort of saw the evolution there. And I think you'll see that evolution happen with Airbnb and with vacation rentals. And so it'll be absolutely key that people respond and use a tool, whether Airbnb's or something like Beyond Pricing, to stay on top of the market.
Perfect. That leads me to our next question. Do you have some numbers on different pricing management methods on the market? Meaning how many hosts do it manually with Airbnb smart pricing or automated tools?
Yeah, I mean, I still think the vast majority of folks do it relatively manually. And it's actually not surprising. Even in the hotel space, there's some study done a while ago that only like 20% of hotels are actually using a sophisticated revenue management and dynamic pricing software. So manual is kind of the way people go because, it's just, people often think they know their market. So if you look at Airbnb and you look at, like with Beyond Pricing, we actually have a free market data section if you connect your Airbnb account. So you can see that. You can actually see how sophisticated people are in different markets. And so in many markets, people are just not sophisticated at all. They just have a weekday, a weekend price, and that's it. And so I still think that's the majority. However, with a lot more and more people are using automated tools like Beyond Pricing, and especially Beyond Pricing. We're now with over, I think actually now we're close to 120,000 listings around the world using us, and we're actually able to see in every single market by looking at the average prices to what degree people have adopted dynamic pricing, and which markets we are very strong in, and which that they're using us. And many of these markets we can easily tell that the majority of, or enough of the market is actually using Beyond Pricing to change the prices in that market. So I think in order of what people are doing, manual is still number one, but increasingly more it's automated tools, and then Airbnb smart pricing probably comes in third there now. As you mentioned, I think a lot of folks have seen that the recommendations there are often much lower, which is fine if you're just trying to completely book up your place with, because it's only available for a couple weeks while you're on vacation. But for the vast majority of people who are trying to maximize revenue, I think they've been apt to not adopt Airbnb's smart pricing.
Great. Thank you for that. It's very informative.
Mm-hmm.
How does Beyond Pricing help hosts and vacation rental managers to manage the price?
Yeah, I mean, so the way that we help is, we're third-party software. You link your Airbnb account to us or your HomeAway if you're on HomeAway, and then we'll automatically analyze our billions of rows of data around looking for change, trends in the market, seasonality, day of week, major events, all these kinds of things to help figure out a couple of things. One is we want to help you figure out your right average price, which is one thing you definitely don't see with Airbnb. So we want to figure out, hey, are you like a Marriott or are you a Motel 6? And we do that by looking at how you're booked up and using this kind of health score methodology. So definitely recommend checking us out and seeing, diving in more on that. And then the second thing is we'll vary based on major events and seasonality and stuff like that. And so when you link it to your account to Beyond Pricing, you instantly see all those recommendations, and you can make any changes you want, and you can sync it directly back into Airbnb, and then from there it can go to whatever other systems you have linked up with Airbnb, for instance, AirGMS.
Great, that's terrific.
Sure.
What kind of technology or artificial intelligence tools do you use to calculate price recommendations?
Yeah, so we do actually a good amount of machine learning to help figure out the right prices. At a high level, I can give Uber as an example. There's kind of two parts to figuring out the right price recommendations. One is you want to measure demand, so see how much demand is there for your place and in the market. And the second thing is, given that demand, you want to know how much do I increase or decrease prices. So for instance, we might see for New Year's Eve that demand is doubling. So if demand is doubling, though, that's great. We got to measure that first. But then we need to figure out, hey, if demand doubles, how much can you increase price? So it's not enough just to know demand. You have to constantly run these tests saying, oh, if we, if demand is doubling and we double prices, does that even out the supply-demand dynamic? So because we have thousands of listings in every single market using our prices, that machine learning feedback loop helps us determine, does doubling of demand equal a doubling of price, or a tripling of price, or a quadrupling of price? And that's what kind of makes us better. We have more people, we know we have more people using beyond pricing than Airbnb has using smart pricing. And so we actually have a better feedback loop and better machine learning there, which is pretty neat. The example on Uber is Uber has a similar problem. Uber has surge pricing, and so they can see, the way they do that is first they have to measure demand, then they have to figure out how much to surge. So they can see that, like, when a baseball game lets out, there's a big spike in people opening the app and requesting rides, and so there maybe demand doubles, but then they have to figure out, oh, do I surge 2x, or do I surge 3x, or do I surge 4x in order to match supply and demand? And because they have so many people using them, and because they're in so many other markets that they can use as corollaries, they have a significant advantage, just like we do.
Great. And can you please tell us a little more about your product and its path to becoming a leading pricing technology in the vacation rental market?
Well, appreciate that. Yeah, so we have a free trial. We actually, if you sign up with a link from AirGMS, you can get an extra $30 credit for it. And so we just want to prove out to you that we help you make more money, because in the end of the day, that's the purpose of the product. We actually were the first to launch. We launched back in 2013. Before Airbnb had smart pricing. I had seen similar technology in the hotel space where I worked before, and so we launched Beyond Pricing because we didn't see anything in the vacation rental space. So we were very early, which was great. We've had a ton of momentum since then. As I mentioned, we now work with over 120,000 listings around the world. We're in over 600 markets. In many markets, so many folks are using us that it actually alters the prices for the whole market there. In places like Tokyo and Osaka, we price about 40% of the market. Other places in the US will be, 20–25% of the market, which is pretty cool.
Great. Just a couple more questions here. Oops.
Sure.
Does your tool adapt to different pricing strategies for vacation rentals?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, you went through some of those strategies, and yes, it definitely can. So we kind of have this concept of a base price, which is just your average price, and we try to guide you to filling up at exactly the right rate to maximize revenue. So you mentioned that kind of revenue maximization strategy, yes, where you want high rates and high occupancy. So we try to guide you towards that, and the way we do that is we don't want you to get filled up too quickly. So we don't want you fully booked for the next 9 months, and we also don't want you only booked a few days in the next couple of months. We want you booked at exactly the right rate, and that'll we help guide you on that average price so that you can do that. Now you can always say, hey, actually I want to be on average higher priced, and I'm okay that I'm not booking up that much. You can do that in two ways with Beyond Pricing. One is you can always just increase your base price so that you're a bit above where the market is, like you said, for that, kind of trying to maximize your rate per night. You can also set a very high minimum with us. So if you never want to go below $200, you can set that we never will. And so that means, hey, you might be empty in the winter when demand is low, but you'll get those nice high season bookings and those major event bookings, and that might be what you want to do, and that's your strategy. On the other hand, if you want to be booked up way in advance, and like you said, you want to have a less risky pricing strategy, you can just do the same thing. You just lower that base price on Beyond Pricing, and that'll lower your prices across the board. And that just means that your booking percentage, the number of days that you're booked up in the next 30, 60, 90 days, will be higher than we recommend, but that's totally fine. You're just making that decision that you're okay leaving a little bit of money on the table for the security of being fully booked very far in advance. And so that's all adaptable within the platform. But our core thing is we try to, in general, guide people to that to revenue maximization, but we recognize that people do have different strategies and different goals, and so it adapts to that.
Great. That was very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
One last one here. What is your top recommendation as for pricing strategies to hosts and short-term rental managers?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, in general, leverage a tool or leverage some sort of data so you can at least understand your market. Again, you can actually do that on Beyond Pricing completely for free if you link your account. You can get access to something we call market data. So then you at least know what your high seasons and your low seasons are. You can see those major events and how big an event they are. Just having access to that data we think is really valuable. That's why we've kind of made that free for everybody. And then at least if you're going to make manual decisions, you can make them as informed decisions. Because even though we think we know our market, I do know what events come to my market, for instance, Santa Cruz, a beach town south of San Francisco. But I don't necessarily know, I know when there's an event, but I don't know if that event is going to cause prices to double or triple or quadruple. So having some of that data there that will help you make those decisions. And there's also some counterintuitive things that happen. For instance, like in San Francisco, Thanksgiving and Christmas are some of the lowest demand periods. So even though they're quote unquote holidays, they're actually very low demand for Airbnbs and vacation rentals, especially one bedroom type places, just because everyone goes somewhere else for Thanksgiving. They're actually going to San Francisco. So by looking at the data, which is available and free out there, that's the best thing. That helps you inform your decisions. And even if you're trusting smart pricing or Beyond Pricing to set all your prices, you still want to look at that data to say, hey, do I agree? And so that you're not just blindly trusting something. And so that's why we kind of provide that out there. So always look at the data. That's my top recommendation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was
No
very
problem.
informative. All right. Well, we'll probably have some more questions for you towards the end, so please just hang tight. I just want to talk to you about some automation tools with everyone. Here are some tools for experienced Airbnb hosts and short-term rental businesses using AirGMS. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our company, AirGMS. AirGMS is a vacation rental software. It's native two-way integration to Airbnb. AirGMS is the only vacation rental software that has direct integration with Airbnb. We provide a single inbox, provide guest communications to manage all of your bookings and alterations. We can also automate your day-to-day operations. How AirGMS helps hosts? Well, first of all, we can save you time. There's a single login for all your Airbnb accounts, and it automates your daily repetitive tasks. Prevents human errors, of course, and you can also have control for your team members. Our focus is to help you grow your business. Here's a couple features that we provide within AirGMS. We have a multi-platform synchronization, so you can synchronize your calendars across Booking.com, VRBO, HomeAway, as well as Airbnb. We can manage multiple Airbnb accounts, so you don't have to log in and log out of different Airbnb accounts. We have a powerful multi-calendar to manage all of your different reservations. We have a direct communication with the guests from a single inbox, as well as automatic or triggered messages. We also have pricing updates directly within the software, so you can easily change the price up or down at your discretion. We have operational tasks and work orders and team member management to manage your team, cleaners, service personnel, or anyone else that's helping you with your short-term rental business. If you're interested in Beyond Pricing, you can book online a demo. We also have a special offer for today's attendees. You get $30 in Beyond Pricing credit using the link, which we will all send you once we conclude. As for AirGMS, you can book an online demo with one of our sales reps. We have a 14-day free trial, and it's free. Our service is free for anyone who just has one listing. There is a special offer for today's attendees as well. You get 1 month free for all new users. Just type in the coupon code webinar. All right, well, we have some time to do a quick Q&A. We've got a few questions from the audience. The first one here that I have is from Dave. Dave asks, I have a unique property with an awesome ocean view. What is the best pricing strategy for me? Well, Dave, thank you for your question. If you have a unique property, you want to look at max per night strategy, but you should also consider other factors. Probably need more information to provide you the best recommendation. And if you like, Dave, we can even set up a call after the webinar so we can look at your case a little more in detail. Here's a couple more questions. Several attendees asked, do you have automatic pricing or automated pricing within AirGMS? To answer your question, at the moment, we do not have automated pricing within the software. We do plan to integrate with some existing tools on the market, and we're also considering to integrate with Beyond Pricing directly, since they're the leading marketing or pricing optimization tool in the market. Ian, here's a question for you. Does Beyond Pricing work for HomeAway and Booking.com, or is it only for Airbnb?
Yeah, great question. So we do work with HomeAway. We can link directly to HomeAway. And if you need price syncing out to Booking.com, we also work via Rentals United, which is a channel manager, which can help you sync out to Booking.com. So right now, if you want to go to Booking.com, just contact us and we'll put you in touch with the Rentals United folks. We hope very soon, though, to be able to offer that price syncing directly to Booking.com.
Great. Here's another question for our team. I hired an assistant to help me with my guests. Can I provide limited access to using your software? Well, to answer your question, the new release of our AirGMS software does indeed provide this possibility. You can grant different types of access to your personnel depending on their role. If they're a cleaner, if they're helping you with the guest communications, we can segment the software to allow access for them. All right, so a few attendees asked, how often do I need to change my prices? Well, we suggest you change your prices either manually or automatically several times a day, at the very least, at least 1 time a day, to keep them all up to date. The other reason is it's going to increase your exposure on Airbnbs through their search engine optimization. Every price change helps your listing to increase its ranking within Airbnb. Ian, do you have any other suggestions on that?
Yeah, I mean, just daily's good. You know, demand doesn't change as crazily as it does in hotels. You know, where like the Hilton will update prices like 12 times a day and things like that. But you know, daily is good. And you know, if you're doing it manually, you know, daily can be tough. Well, you want to check in on your prices daily,
Sure.
especially to account for like stuff in the next week or two. To definitely like implement your last minute strategies. Luckily, with other tools, updating daily is not a problem.
Great, thank you. All right, so I think unfortunately we were running out of time for the masterclass. I want to highlight that we've received you know, close to 40 questions. We will answer them individually via email, and we will definitely get back to you and share our ideas and solutions for you. Thank you for joining us. We welcome your time. If you need to contact us, please do so. I'll leave this information up for you, and we'd love to hear from you and get your feedback as well, and look forward to seeing you on our next webinar.